Let's be honest. We are all in a constant battle against distraction. The pings, the notifications, that endless scroll. It can feel totally overwhelming. But what if winning this fight isn't just possible, but actually way simpler than you think? Today, we're going to dive into how to become truly indistractable. We're so quick to blame our technology, right? Our phones, our laptops. But what if we're looking in completely the wrong place? This one question changes everything. What if the real source of every single distraction actually starts inside of us? To defeat an enemy, you first have to understand it. So our first step here is to pinpoint where our distractions really come from. And trust me, the answer might surprise you. So, here's the big idea. Every distraction, and I mean every single one, whether it's checking your phone or grabbing a cookie, it all starts with a moment of discomfort. It's our brain's way of trying to escape an uncomfortable internal feeling. Just think about it. You're trying to write a tough email. You feel that little bit of frustration. That's the internal trigger. And what's the escape? Picking up your phone, of course. And what are these feelings? Well, they're the usual suspects, aren't they? That feeling of boredom when a task gets a little repetitive, that little ping of anxiety right before you have to make a phone call, or just that low-grade stress that kind of follows you around all day. Our brains are basically wired to find relief, and distraction is always the fastest, easiest fix. Okay, so if the problem starts with discomfort, then the solution has to be getting better at handling it. And this leads us to a really practical strategy. It's not about fighting the feeling, it's about learning how to ride the wave. I love this metaphor. Think of an urge to get distracted like a wave in the ocean. It starts to build, it gets stronger and stronger, it hits its peak, and then, if you just wait a second, it naturally fades away all on its own. The key is realizing you don't actually have to give into it. You just have to give it a moment to pass. So how long do you have to wait for this wave to pass? You're going to love this. It's not an hour. It's not even 30 minutes. Research shows that pretty much every urge that leads to distraction lasts for less than 10 minutes. That's it. Just 10 little minutes stand between you and staying completely focused. And that insight leads to this super powerful but incredibly simple technique, the 10-minute rule. When you feel that urge to check social media, don't try to fight it. That never works. Instead, just acknowledge it. And then make a little deal with yourself. Say, okay, brain, I hear you. I can totally do that, but I'm just going to wait 10 minutes first. Here's exactly how the author, Nir Eyal, puts it. He uses this for absolutely everything. A random thing he wants to Google, a snack he wants when he's just bored, or watching another episode on Netflix when he knows he should be working. By just delaying that impulse, you give the wave time to crest and then just disappear. Now, if waiting 10 minutes still feels a little tough at first, here's another amazing technique from a type of therapy called acceptance and commitment therapy. It's called leaves on a stream. So first, you just picture yourself sitting next to a nice, calm stream. Then, when that feeling of boredom or anxiety pops up, you just mentally place it on a leaf. And then, you just watch it float away. You're not ignoring the feeling. You're just observing it without letting it take over. And listen, this isn't just some fluffy mental exercise. This stuff is backed by science. A study on smokers, and they deal with some of the most intense cravings imaginable, found that practicing this kind of urge surfing technique reduced their cravings by a massive 37%. I mean, if it works for nicotine, it can for sure work for our urge to check Instagram. Now, I know what some of you are probably thinking right now. This all sounds great, but by 5 p.m., my willpower is completely shot. I have nothing left. Well, let's talk about that. It's a feeling we all know, right? That end-of-the-day exhaustion where resisting a single cookie feels like climbing Mount Everest. You just feel depleted. But what if that feeling itself is based on a total misunderstanding of how willpower actually works? For decades, the big idea was this thing called ego depletion. Basically, the theory that willpower is like a muscle that gets tired the more you use it. But guess what? Newer, better science tells a completely different story. Willpower isn't a finite resource. It's much more like an emotion. It's something you feel, and it's something you can learn to grow. In fact, research from Stanford psychologist Carol Dweck found something wild. This ego depletion effect only seems to happen to people who believe their willpower is limited. In other words, your belief creates your reality. If you start seeing yourself as someone with deep reserves of strength, you're going to be a lot more likely to find them. Here's a really simple way to reframe it for yourself. You can't run out of happiness during the day, right? You might feel sad for a little bit, but that capacity for joy is always there. Willpower is exactly the same. So instead of feeling drained, try believing that every little urge you resist actually makes you stronger for the next one. Okay, so we've covered how to manage urges in the moment, and we've busted this whole myth about limited willpower. Now that we know we're stronger than we think, let's look at how we can get proactive and set ourselves up for success with some pre-commitments, or what are called pacts. So there are three really powerful types of pacts you can make with yourself. First is the effort pact. This is where you just make distractions harder to get to, like putting your phone in a timed lockbox while you work. Second, there's the price pact, where you add a real financial cost, like you tell a friend, hey, I'll give you $20 every time you catch me on social media during work. Ouch. And finally, and this one might be the most powerful, is the identity pact. This is where you align your actions with the person you want to be. Just putting, I'm the kind of person who doesn't check email after 6 p.m. in your mind, or even in your email signature, makes it so much harder to break that rule. It becomes part of who you are. All right, let's boil all of this down to its most powerful, most actionable idea. It's all about making a fundamental shift from being reactive to being proactive. And this quote just nails it perfectly. The antidote to impulsiveness is forethought. Instead of waiting for an urge to hit you and then trying to fight it off with willpower in the moment, you plan ahead. You understand your internal triggers, you have strategies like the 10-minute rule in your back pocket, and you set up packs that make focusing the easy choice. So really, the power is in your hands now. You've got the tools to manage discomfort, to reframe how you think about willpower, and to plan ahead. So the only real question left is, what uncomfortable feeling are you going to choose to master first on your journey to becoming truly indistractable?